Ornamental grasses add something, I think, to gardens that none of our other plants really do. They add a strong vertical element. They tend to have very airy flowers, long season of interest. They often have winter interest if they hold their form through the winter. They're a good contrast to broadleaf plants, typical perennials, or wide-leaved plants. And honestly, I think any garden that doesn't have grasses in it yet is not complete. Blonde Ambition is a blue grama grass, which is a native grass, and this was a selection made that is really robust. It blooms at about 18 to 24 inches tall, very drought tolerant, great mixed with other xeric natives or non-natives like lavenders, penstemons, all sorts of plants go really well in a low water garden with it. It does hold its form really well. It's really cute when it puts out its little seed heads in midsummer, and they stand up for a long time through the late part of the season. So it's a really great recent introduction that every xeric garden especially should have. Calamagrostis brachytricha is commonly known as Korean feathergrass. It's a really great grass, especially for dry shade, but it will tolerate some sun as long as it's getting some moisture. It blooms in kind of a vase-shaped to vertical form. And the flowers, when they first emerge, are very soft and airy and kind of a lavender pink hue to them. So think about that when you're pairing it with other plants that will bring out those colors in the grass. It will reseed around a little bit, and you can share those, move them to other parts of your garden, or if you just don't want them, they're very easy to remove. But it is a really great soft textured grass for a vertical element in a garden. The giant saccatone is a grass that is native south of here in Denver. I first saw it growing in New Mexico along the roadside, and I actually had to stop my car and see what it was because I had not been familiar with a native grass that got so large in an arid part of the country. So I collected some seeds and grew some myself and really enjoyed it in the garden. And since then, it's become pretty popular. It's very drought tolerant. It will get from 5 to 8 feet tall, depending on how much water you're giving it. But it really probably looks its best kept a little bit on the dry side, so use it in a xeric garden. It's a large enough grass that you can use it to take the place of things that like a little more water, like miscanthus or the maiden grasses that are really popular. Flowers come out on very long, slender, arching stems, gives a really nice effect in the garden. And it's tall enough to catch any breeze and kind of move in the garden. So it's a really great addition, especially good to use like in the backdrop of a garden that's xeric, among shrubs, large xeric shrubs, or as a background to other perennial natives or xeric plants. Muhlenbergia rivershonii, the selection known as Undaunted ruby mealy grass, is a really great addition to the grass palette for Colorado and dry parts of the West. It's fairly fine textured in the garden. It mixes well with other perennials, and especially a meadow type setting or any flower garden really. A few placed in a garden where the afternoon sun will backlight them is really effective. Placed in a typical perennial border that's a little bit on the dry side, this grass will really take your breath away when it flowers. The selection of big bluestem called Windwalker is a great introduction. It's got very blue foliage through the summer, very vertical habit to about 5 or 6 feet tall. Again, with these grasses, if they're tall enough, they are going to catch almost any breeze and lend some motion to the garden, and this is definitely one of those. There aren't too many places you can go in the West, or in the world for that matter, where grasses aren't part of the natural landscape. And I think when we create gardens without them, we're really missing one of the basic elements of what surrounds us. They add texture, they add vertical height, winter interest, and certainly a lot of them add movement to the garden that other plants just don't provide. And they provide habitat, pollen for pollinators, and seed for birds. They're really a great addition to any garden. You don't have to do an all grass garden. Use them like any other plant as one of the components, whether it's the foreground for short grasses or the background for tall grasses. Plant them in groups of 3 or 5, just like you would any other perennial, and enjoy the texture and the real difference that they make to any garden.